Hey, what's going on, Archons? Welcome to KeyThoughts, my weekly musing. I guess it's not really weekly at this point. I've been kind of slacking on the weekly aspect, but my musings on this great game of KeyForge. And today I have an interesting episode because I wanted to talk about KeyForge in relation to another game. And that other game is, as the title may have led you to believe, Lorcana. So for those of you not familiar, Lorcana is a game that came out in 2023 with crazy hype, crazy, excitement and fervor behind it due to the fact that it was a card game more comparable to Magic the Gathering, but with, I would say, a game accomplishment style more similar to KeyForge, as in it's a race. You're not trying to kill your opponent and get their life down to zero. You're trying to achieve your own goal in a positive way and race to 20 lore. So what I wanted to talk about within this episode today is what I've learned from playing Lorcana, because I've gotten into the game. I wanted to play with my nieces and my wife, and I thought the Disney IP was a great way to get them interested through the visuals and then introduce them to card games, etc. And it's been fun in that regard for sure. But I myself have gotten really into Lorcana. I like the collecting aspect. I do enjoy seeing what can happen, because the game felt very simple for me upon first blush, but then as I've gotten into it more, I see there's more interesting nuances as more sets have come out. So there's two things about Lorcana in comparison to KeyForge that I wanted to highlight today. The first being that a KeyForge player and a Lorcana player are very different. And that's because the truth is the people who are playing Lorcana are actually people who are playing Magic and Pokemon as well. And they're kind of either playing both, or they're starting to migrate over from those IPs over into Lorcana. Now, I know there's been discussion, I think myself included, who said people playing Lorcana bring them over to KeyForge. I now realize that that is probably not a reality. And the reason being, and here's the main thing that really separates KeyForge from these other games, both as a positive and a negative, depending on how you're going to choose to interpret this information. So the first part being, Lorcana has a collectability that KeyForge does not. Magic has a collectability, KeyForge not. Same with Pokemon. All those three games have a collectability, and KeyForge does not possess that. And it's simply from the fact that KeyForge creates a game where you buy a singular whole deck that cannot be separated except for houses and alliance. But aside from that, the truth is you can't compare KeyForge to these games. And when there's been discussions about getting those types of players over to KeyForge, the truth is you really won't. And those you do are going to be a very small percentage. Board gamers are the true set of players that could most easily migrate over to KeyForge. Now, there's another side to this, is board gamers a lot of the time don't play a lifestyle game. They like the variety that playing board games provide. You can pick up a game, play, put it down, come back to it later, play another one. There's that sort of variety in different mechanics, games, things of that nature that exist. Now, with players who play Pokemon and Magic, the reason they like the game and it's a lifestyle game is because there is the collectability and the chase of you open a pack to get the cards to build. The cards you open have a singular value that can be resold very easily, and you can keep the ones you want. You can dump a whole bunch. That aspect of those games is truly what separates them from KeyForge. And Lorcana is really what highlighted this to me, because I hadn't played Magic for a while in that more opening pack sense and things like that. I was just playing Commander, building my decks bit by bit, which I'm hoping Lorcana goes that route, because that's what I would really like to play, Lorcana. But as I'm playing this, I'm realizing the things that made Lorcana come out the gate so hot and will continue to be so is the fact that the commerce and secondary market of the game exists due to the fact they're opening packs, due to the fact that they have enchanted cards, which are special alternate arts that are more shiny, that are extremely rare, that as a result of being so rare and looking so pretty, we'll call it, have a value to collectors, have a value to players. they have just a more intrinsic value than the standard card, not only being foil, but also being an alternate art and full art at that. It puts value, and Lorcana came into it in a very intelligent way because Pokemon and Magic had already established doing something like this holds value and is worth more. So they had set a bar where they instantly made these cards worth X amount of dollars, which is usually 100 plus, just for a single card, just because of the fact that this has been a sort of societal norm that cards of that nature are worth more and hold more value. Now, people playing these games, Lorcana, Magic, Pokemon, there's not just a player. This is the cool thing about KeyForge is KeyForge, we're for the most part all players. I think there's players, there's content creators, and I don't think there's really such thing as like a KeyForge collector. That's not really a thing. Where in these other games, Pokemon, Lorcana, and Magic, you can have a collector, someone who literally opens to have a collection and get things, especially in Pokemon and Lorcana, because those have IPs which have been established prior to the game itself, where there's characters that people love, and then you add a variant of a card which has more value and is unique, and you instantly make these people, I just want to get it to collect and have them in a binder and look at, as opposed to KeyForge, we actually collect and get decks based on our utility of of getting to play them and how well they're going to work. Now, there could be some collection in terms of you want a deck that has like certain chase cards and to do it in that way, but it's really not the same thing because you're getting a whole deck at the end of it, not just one thing, which is both, I would say, a gift and a curse. Now, as I go on this rant here about how our game differs, now there is a huge part to this that I don't think KeyForge can grow at the rate that Lorcana has, because even if you look online, there is so much content with incredibly more views than any KeyForge content creator has, like way more. And it's simply because, one, there's Disney. That's for sure. Like, you can't discount the fact that Disney being a part of it is a huge draw. But on top of it, there's also the fact that you can just get into this so easily. You just pick up, go, you collect, you see stuff online, what's good, what's not. You essentially, when you have net decking, you're telling people what to do. They don't have to think for themselves. They just have to go, oh, that works, it's good, I'm going to copy and do it. Which, believe it or not, is a very low barrier to entry, because your only barrier to entry at that point is the availability of getting the cards you want and the cost it will be to create whatever the set of cards value is. That's all it is. And it's been proven through Magic that that's not very much a barrier. It's a pay to play at the end of the day. And the truth is, they're not like hundreds of dollars anymore. They've all come down. So Lorcana has put itself in a very interesting place where it will grow and continue to grow and be bigger than KeyForge. Not only that, they're releasing sets like every 3 months. They're following a Magic format, which is honestly too much. I think people are getting away from Magic as a result because they're almost doing like monthly releases. And that's actually helping Lorcana attract players. Like, that's a big thing. When you have one game doing something that is creating a pain point for a player, and then something else comes along and exists, which is very similar, it's going to feel similar, but one of those pain points has been addressed, they're going to move over to that. Now, KeyForge does solve a lot of pain points. I think and truly believe that there is no better community. Even when I went to a Lorcana event, I disliked playing Lorcana because of the community. It was such a, I don't want to say toxic, because that's not true. People were nice, but the mentality is you're opening your packs and you want to brag that you opened something expensive rather than you open something that's going to play well. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, when someone got an enchanted card, which is worth quite a bit of money, they held it up and let everyone know. Like, they couldn't be humble about it. They needed to make sure everyone knew that they got it, which I found quite interesting, because that's not really so much of a KeyForge thing. I think maybe if you got a Martian Generosity, that's where it would be. But again, we play sealed, so we don't really want people to know what we have, so we don't really shout it from the rooftops at the same time. But what I'm trying to get at here is we have such a difference of community, and I think the player that comes to play KeyForge is different than the player that plays these other games. Now, we will get players who will come over and play, But I think at the end of the day, they will lose interest quicker due to the fact that they have less control over what's going, uh, what's they have to play with. And the discovery and puzzle that exists within a KeyForge deck is really what draws board gamers, because there's that aspect of strategy, there's that aspect of discovery, there's that aspect of trying to figure things out and break it down, which a board game possesses in many ways, which these other, they do not. Like when you play Pokemon, Lorcana, or Magic, there is no discovery. There is literally a video you watch that tells you how to play the deck. This is why this deck is good. You're getting these cards out. Like if you look at, literally go to Lorcana on YouTube right now after this, go type in Lorcana, find someone talking about a deck, and if you go look at their timestamps telling you where to go in the video to see certain things, you will actually see, they will say how to play is one of the things, key combos, things like that, things you're looking for in the deck. Like it is not exactly like you have to figure it out. It is spoon fed to you. That is also what makes KeyForge unique. Now, as I was saying, KeyForge I don't think can grow at the same rate as these other games. Like it will take a seriously long time to grow to that size, and it's going to require Ghost Galaxy to really be in control of creating an environment that is welcoming, which we do naturally, but in terms of product. Welcoming in terms of product exists, the availability, so there's no barrier to new players coming in and getting what they want to have, which is a limit on decks. People want to buy 100 decks, they should be able to, or at least order it from the store without any resistance, which currently does not exist. My LGS cannot get, they got, I think, 2 displays of woe, maybe even just 1, and they haven't been able to get it since, and they're not going to as far as they know. So that's kind of sad because that's a huge barrier for us. Hopefully Grim Reminders will be a turning point and that won't be a thing anymore, but that is the problem we currently face, is the game cannot grow, and it will not grow like these other games because of the fact that you are not bringing in people buying product to show that growth. One, we don't have collectors. There's not people just buying to open and then be able to sell or have part of their collection. Not a thing. It will not exist in KeyForge so far unless they completely alter an aspect of the game. Maybe if they want to do this, one suggestion would be that 38th card in the deck. What if that was a special alternate art card that actually could be collected? It was considered a collectible card. So it has maybe a different treatment on it, and it's inserted in every deck, and it does not have a deck name associated. It's actually a random inserted card that is special, and maybe there's different variants of it, like it's a rare, or I don't know how to really go about this. I'm just literally popped into my mind as I'm telling you this right now as an idea. But if we utilize that 38th card as a collectible card, you would get people who want KeyForge to play, and then you're also collecting something that maybe doesn't have a utility in the sense of you can put it in a deck, or maybe you can. If the card exists in your deck, you can have that to play with, but you just have to showcase it on your Archon card. Maybe that's something that could draw in that type of player, but not having a aspect for collectors. We only have an aspect truly for players, people who want to play the game. And as much as this sounds like I'm saying this is a negative thing, it truly is not. Because when you get collectors, they're also the ones who want to make money off the game and flip things and drive the price of things that should be a certain MSRP higher. And that's what happened with Lorcana. The supply and demand was off, and so the people who got some of the supply fed into the demand by doubling and tripling the price of just a pack, never mind the cards themselves, which were incredibly inflated. So this all led to kind of a bad thing within a new game, because people who wanted to play couldn't, and if they did, they had to pay a ridiculous amount of money. And I fell slightly victim to this, but not too much, because I didn't really try and buy product. I just got singles to play. But that's the one great thing that KeyForge has, is that really doesn't exist that much. It really is not a huge issue. There isn't people driving prices. People who want to play the game can play the game. And that is one of the best things about KeyForge, is we don't have that barrier, and the people in it do want to play. That's also why our community is so rich and not a toxic community. It's a great environment because everyone who's a part of it likes the game and wants to play the game. So you don't have these people who are coming in with views that are on a commerce-based collection, flipping, anything like that, scalping, we can call it even at this point. They're just people who love the game and want to play. And that is why we have such a rich community. So even though we don't have huge growth like Lorcana is going to have, we actually have a more quality player base, even though it's smaller, and we will grow over time. It's just not going to happen at that huge speed rate that those other games have. It will happen at a more gradual, consistent pace, especially once we have regular LGS and local OP support, which is slated to happen in 2024. This will be the start of when you see things grow. Having 2 sets released a year, that's also going to cause things to grow, because the ability to buy new things and get new stuff. If you don't like a set, don't worry. Later on in the year, another one's coming out. It's a very healthy direction that I think will cause us to have that gradual growth. But the truth is, KeyForge will never have meteoric growth like it did when it first came out, because it was brand new. People didn't really understand. But I think now we've settled into the type of player who wants to play KeyForge, knows what they're going to get into, and knows what exists. And I truly believe that that is a positive thing for the game of KeyForge. We just have to be patient and allow the incremental growth. It will allow us to have a very rich group of players that all really enjoy the game and can get along the way we already currently do. That is the huge benefit that KeyForge has in compared to these other games. It's very hard to build a toxic environment because you're not having an injection of any type of player all at once. It's a gradual growth, and we'll call it assimilation into what we've decided is what we're going to tolerate and we want to be in the game of KeyForge. And that is a huge thing. That does my discussion for basically was a Lorcana thing, but really to highlight the difference between KeyForge and Lorcana now, and how that our growth cannot be like those games, and how that is a truly positive thing, I think, overall for KeyForge. So I hope you have enjoyed this, and as always, Archons, may your Ember never be stolen and your keys forged prompted. Have a good one.